On September 6, 2016, Black Ops 3 Zombies released its DLC 4 map, Revelations. And like most Blundell maps, there was a fresh batch of ciphers to be found and decrypted. With Revelations being the conclusion to Black Ops 3 Zombies, we knew that these ciphers were going to be especially important. And not only that, but this time around we knew that the difficulty level of these ciphers were going to be something like we hadn't encountered before. We knew this from the comments made by Jason Blundell in the lead up to DLC 4.
If they think that's bad, wait till DLC 4.
Oh man. Oh, he's doing it again. Oh my god.
For those guys out there who are cipher loggers and kind of people into cryptography, then some real treats coming.
Although we never took Blundell's comments lightly, we knew that if the Zombies community could be credited for anything, it would be its incredible dedication and persistence. We assumed these ciphers, like the maps before, would be solved in no time. Little did we know how wrong we were. 9 years has now passed, and out of the 14 ciphers in Revelations, only 4 have been decrypted and 10 remain unsolved. And the 4 that have been decrypted were solved relatively quickly after the map's launch. And since then, throughout the last 9 years, there has been really no notable progress made on any of the remaining ciphers. Unless you include all the people that give any credence to the shit that ChatGPT spits out. The impossible Easter egg hunt motivated a lot of us to give another big group push at these unsolved ciphers over the last year. But more recently, in the past few months, the Zombies cipher legend himself, Rich Killer, messaged me out of the blue and told me that there may have been a breakthrough with one of the Revelations ciphers. And I knew straight away that if it had Rich Killer excited, it definitely had to be something crazy. I'm going to quote what Rich Killer said to me here because it really got me hyped. He said, "This is potentially the most progress we have made on these ciphers since the map came out." Now, the genius that actually made this discovery is another Zombies cipher legend, Randomiser. So all credit goes to Randomiser, and today we're going to go through his discovery. Now, if you don't know anything about the workings of ciphers, don't stress. I'm going to explain what this new breakthrough is without getting too technical, so everyone can still follow what I'm saying. The cipher we're going to be talking about today is this one right here, which can be located in-game in the premise statue room in Revelations. This cipher we refer to in my Discord as Rev 11. The reason we refer to this as Rev 11 is because in the game's files it's alphabetically the 11th Rev cipher. But to avoid confusion, the COD Zombies Reddit page refers to this as Rev 13. This Rev 11 cipher has always been high up on the target list because it's quite unique compared to the others. Rev 11's appearance, for instance, is on this darker stained piece of paper, which is referred to in the files as a paper cipher, where the remaining unsolved ciphers on Revelations all look like this. They are either named book or torn ciphers for obvious reasons. Because these ciphers have been so hard, the potential that some of these might actually be linked is an idea that has been explored. So although the texture models of these ciphers usually isn't important or even relevant, it does make Rev 11 stand out here. Rev 11 is also unique because it's the only alphabetic bigram, meaning that the text is split up into pairs of 2 letters throughout. Bigrams are most commonly encrypted by a Playfair cipher, so that is what our assumption has been for a very long time, that this is some sort of Playfair. If you want a detailed breakdown on Playfair ciphers, I'll leave a good video down below, but essentially the way Playfair works is to encrypt your message, you need to first choose a key and then establish a 5x5 grid. This grid will have 25 letters of the alphabet, meaning that 1 letter is left out. This excluded letter is almost always J or Q because they are the least commonly used letters in the English language. This means if our ciphertext here was simply just encrypted by Playfair, it likely wouldn't contain the letter J. But of course it's not that simple. As you can see here in our Rev 11 cipher, there are plenty of J's. The missing character for us is actually the letter P rather than J or Q, which is very unusual. Blundell has intentionally made these Rev ciphers more complex, and the reality is that the reason 10 of these ciphers remain unsolved is because it's likely that they all have multiple layers of encryption, meaning that there have been 2 or more ciphers used stacked on top of each other on the same message. which means even if you figure out the first layer of encryption successfully, it's hard to tell because you will still be met with a random jumble of letters. But we have always been aware of this, and we've tried thousands of combinations over the years. So the question is, what has Randomiser discovered this time that has us all so excited? Well, the first thing he did was apply a ROT or a Caesar cipher shift, which is very basic. It just rotates letters forward or backwards in the alphabet by any amount you choose. In this scenario, we're going to use a ROT -6 and shift our letters backwards 6 places. When making this new conversion, our new ciphertext now does not include the letter J, which puts us more into a logical position to now apply Playfair. The next step after that is to simply reverse the text, which is actually a common part of the process with multiple other zombie ciphers, especially in Revelations. Then we need to figure out the cipher key. Now, Randomiser, after many attempts, decided to trial the word zombies, which actually is also a key used in the arcade ticket cipher, also on Revelations. So if we tried to decrypt this now with the keyword zombies, we get this text. And like we talked about before, it's kind of hard to know if you've achieved anything because it's still a random arrangement of letters. But there are some techniques we can use to give us a hint as to whether we have made any progress. This is now where we have to do what's called frequency analysis. A normal message written in English will have an uneven distribution of letters. For example, the letters E and A are very commonly used vowels, so we expect them to appear more in most messages. So we put our encrypted ciphertext into the frequency analysis tool so we can figure out how many times each letter is used. We can see here that there is a relatively flat distribution of letters, and nothing is really standing out, meaning there isn't much of an indication that we are close to an English message. But what Randomiser did notice here is mind-blowing. We can see from our letter count that there are 25 X's in this text, which is not unusual at all, but what is really unusual is that 10 of these X's are in between duplicate letters. Here you see GXG, BXB, GXG again, IXI, IXI again, and so on. There are 10 examples of this in this one cipher. This is not a coincidence. If you randomly generated 1 million Playfair ciphers on the same text, you would never even come close to getting 10 sets of these X's. So the question is, why is this happening? Well, it's actually quite simple. When encrypting a Playfair cipher, you will split your hidden message up into pairs like this. If any of your pairs include double letters, the cipher will not work. So what you have to do is split up your pairs and place an X in between them. This process is called padding, where you put an X between every pair that has a double up letter. Without doing this, the encryption process won't work. It's one of the rules of a Playfair cipher. So the reason we've found 10 sets of these X's in between double letters is because Jason Blundell has padded this message. And if we're seeing them show up like this in high frequency, it means we have definitely done something right. Knowing that he was on the right track, the next thing Randomiser tried was the same keyword zombies, but this time before decrypting, he reversed the key itself, reversed the alphabet, and also put the key at the end of the alphabet instead of the beginning. The reason we always try stuff like this is because we know that Jason Blundell himself often uses these websites for the ciphers and definitely takes advantages of the default options that they provide. So now when we try this variation of decryption, you can see here the result still just appears to be a jumble of letters. Although there still is a high amount of these X patterns, 8 sets total in this one, but what Randomiser noticed this time is that when you check the letter frequencies, there is actually a massive spike. The letter I now appears 37 times, which is 11 times more than the second most frequent letter T. This indicates that we are nearing more to an English-like letter. This again is not a coincidence. Another confirmation that we have made some progress is that both of these decryption attempts we tried both end in the pair PX, which signifies to us that the hidden message that Blundell chose has an uneven amount of letters. The way we know this is because Playfair works in pairs, and the last set in this text would be on its own if it was uneven, meaning that this last X was purely added for padding purposes only, and that it's not actually a part of the cipher and can be removed. So let's recap all the discoveries that have been made. We have an extremely high frequency of these AXA patterns in the cipher text. there's a huge spike in the letter I, and the last letter in the cipher being padded to make up for an even number. Now, if only one of these anomalies had happened, we could conceive that these potentially just happened by chance. But taking that all these three things happened together, and all coming from the key zombies that has been previously used in another cipher, this really confirms that we have successfully decrypted the first layer. To prove to everyone that this isn't happening by chance, Randomiser said he tested millions of Playfair keys to see if this many AXA patterns could occur by chance, and it never even happened once. So for all of you who want to try finish this cipher, here is a summary of the decryption process for the first layer of Rev 11. First, we applied a ROT-6 shift, then reversed the text, then apply Playfair using the keyword zombies, but reverse the key and the whole alphabet before keying, and also put the key at the end instead of the beginning. And there you go, that's the first step for this cipher. Well, technically it's actually 2 layers of encryption because we have completed the ROT shift and then the Playfair. So this cipher actually appears to be 3 layers of encryption, which is insane. After 9 years, this is the craziest breakthrough we have ever seen with these revelation ciphers. So GG to Randomiser, super impressive discovery, and we're all assuming that the hardest part may actually be done now for this Rev 11 cipher, and now it's just a matter of time to figure out what the last layer of encryption is, which is the main reason I wanted to make this video, so we could get a lot more eyes on this topic and crack the final layer. Well, we are hoping that this is the final layer and there isn't more, because that would just be ridiculous. For all the cipher experts out there, I'm sure you'll realize that we do have some obstacles going forward. It's going to be hard to determine what J's Blundell has turned into I's during the encryption process, and also trying to remove the artificial X's in the text that were used for padding like we talked about. This is tricky because we can't distinguish between any of the X's that were a part of the cipher before encryption and the ones that were used as padding. But I'm confident now with more eyes on this, we are going to get it done. Huge thanks to Gasp, Rich Killer and WaterKH, they all helped out putting this video together. I really hope I managed to explain how crazy this is and described it in a way where everyone could follow along. Leave a like on the video if I did, and drop any questions you have in the comments. You can also join the Discord below if you are really passionate about this and want to join us trying to solve these. Everyone's pretty hyped at the moment after finally making some progress.